The food service, hospitality, and retail industries are evolving in ways you've never heard of until now. Hosted by global industry technovator Rob Grimes and powered by the IFBTA, TechBytes is your go-to podcast, putting technology innovation and trends on the menu.
So welcome to another episode of TechBytes, and I'm Rob Grimes with the IFBTA, and I am really pleased to have a conversation today with Lauren Coulter, who is the Chief Biscuit Eater and Integrator. I don't know if you integrate when you're eating biscuits or how that works, but we'll get things. But welcome to TechBytes.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So here's the deal. So we attended, and the IFBTA participated in the National Restaurant Association's The Table Conference a number of weeks ago. And as part of the conference, Lauren came and she actually spoke on a panel on, guess what, technology. Mm-hmm. And she really represents a different area with Biscuit Belly. And I was sort of hoping first we could just introduce everybody to Biscuit Belly if they're not familiar, and then we can take the conversation from there.
That sounds great. Yes, we are Biscuit Belly. I'm the Chief Biscuit Eater and Integrator here. My husband is our visionary. So for anyone out there that speaks EOS or just some sort of system of managing your business, he is kind of the vision guy, and I am the behind the scenes doer of all the things girl. So he will come up with crazy ideas. It's my job to say no, yes, okay, maybe later, and then work with our teams in whatever capacity to execute on those ideas. We talked about tech with Biscuit Belly, and Biscuit Belly, for those of you who have never been able to come, is really focused, as the name suggests, on a big hearty biscuit sandwich. Some of the go-tos are the Mama's Boy, which has a piece of fried chicken, some fried green tomatoes, and some pimento cheese topped with a couple delicious pickles. We've got, your classic, we call it a Rockwell Supreme with fried chicken, some gravy, over easy egg, and some bacon with some cheddar. And so a lot of these really just biscuit at the center of the meal-focused restaurant. We also have some healthy options, of course, and some, pancakes, definitely do our fair share of mimosas and cocktails. So a variety of options in the breakfast, brunch, lunch realm.
And how many restaurants do you have?
We've got 14.
All in the Louisville area? I should have mentioned that's where we met.
No, we have 3 here in Louisville, but we've got stores in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, so kind of all over the Southeast.
And franchising or all direct?
We do have 6 franchise locations. Those are from 3 franchise partners, so each group has 2 open.
So, biscuits have been around for a long time, and there's some pretty big biscuit chains. So I'm always curious what somebody's inspiration was or how they got into it, and also what makes them different, what your differentiating piece is.
Of course. Well, my husband and I are originally from Georgia, and we grew up with these delicious biscuits at, the corner gas station. My husband tells this story. We were both in pharmacy and thought we both went to school to be pharmacists, but during his time working in a pharmacy, how the pharmacist would have him run down to the golden pantry and get a, bacon, egg, and cheese, or get whatever the biscuit of the day was and bring it back. And then kind of from my side, my best friend growing up, we would always stay at her grandmother's house, and her grandmother's name was Dit Dot. And we would stay at her house, and every morning she'd be rolling out these fresh biscuits. And so I think, like many Southerners or many folks who have had those experiences, biscuits kind of represent this just safe space, coming to a table and just feeling good inside, and for my husband, it was all about like, what all could you put on it? For me, it was definitely more about the focus of the biscuit with just butter, or the biscuit and some jam. And so those two things together, I mean, oddly enough, those two things actually really help exemplify some of the challenges that we had when we first opened, just with making a biscuit that can hold up to a variety of these ingredients while also being delicious on its own. And so, I mean, yeah, that's kind of the impetus of all of this. Now,
You know that you've opened up a whole number of different avenues of conversation here, starting with you're figuring out how it tastes good, but you have simple taste because you just like butter on it. And your husband's coming up with all the complicated ideas, and
but
you're figuring out how to uncomplicate it and make it work. Did I capsulize your whole life here or what?
the thing that really makes us stand apart compared to some of the other, now I should say we opened our first Biscuit Belly in 2019. For sure, there were other biscuit concepts. So at the time there was Holler and Dash, and when I tell you, my husband for years had been working on me to get this open. He's always like the ideas person, and I'm the one just kind of like, hang on, hang on. I'm a bit more conservative with I'm less of a risk taker, I would say, in this regard. And so he was constantly like, look what we need to do. We had gone out, we had been in Oregon, we went to Pine State Biscuits. We had heard of the one that was acquired by Cracker Barrel. I forgot what it's called down in Florida.
Maple Street.
Maple Street Biscuit. There is Biscuitville. So we know we're not the first to put all this together. The differentiator, I would say, for us is that while, yes, it is a fast casual in that you come in and you order at the counter, everything else is a full service experience. So when we've gone to these other places, it's very much like a Qdoba, where you're ordering and then you sit down and then, oh, here's your drink, and you have to go up and get it. And you go sit back down. Oh, here's your food. And then you have to go up and get it. And if you're there with 3 or 4 people, 4 people are never sitting at the same time. So for us.
Yeah, but I would make you hungry. You'd be pretty hungry getting up and down. You'd order a lot of different things.
Exactly. Work off a little of that.
That's it.
Yeah. But for us, as soon as you sit down, we bring your drinks out to you, we bring food out to you, and we clean up after you. So we really are looking to create this upscale dining experience despite it being breakfast.
So of course we met at a general restaurant conference, but we were talking technology.
Yes.
So I'm going to guess that your perspective, what is your perspective on technology being a growing emerging brand, being that you're multi-state, being that you have franchisees, and what is your just general attitude or view?
Well, initially, when you open up, I guess any business, but I can speak for restaurants, you have every tech company on the planet looking you up on LinkedIn, hitting you up, trying to sell you something. And we came across a million things that were so cool. And oh my goodness, this is cool. And we signed up for a lot of them. But what we learned was being so small, we didn't have the people to actually do anything with the data that it would spit out or the integration that it would allow. And so finally, probably 2.5 years in, we really looked at our tech stack, if that's what you wanted to call it, and we just started slicing and dicing. And we were focused on what do we need to have the best guest experience. And so obviously that comes with ordering. We have to do the things that you naturally think of, being involved with third-party integrations and, doing all the DoorDash and Uber Eats stuff.
Were either your husband or yourself tech people before?
Oh, Lordies, no.
Okay.
No.
So you're really taking advice or really just seeing what's out there. But it sounds like when you started, you were taking what people approached you on rather than necessarily saying, what are other people doing or what do we need to put in? They just hit you up and you went with it.
Yeah. And, at first, yes, we were like, I can totally be salesed too, but ultimately we realized, we were paying a bunch of companies $100 a month a location to actually do nothing because we didn't have anybody to do anything with the information. And then number 2, we ultimately, a lot of that stuff didn't change the guest experience. And so we sliced and diced our tech stack. we got down to absolute basics. And I think it was 2023. We were like, this is the year of no new companies, like nothing new. We had a whole
So wait, hold on. So you really took what they would call a best of breed approach. You didn't buy everything from one person.
Correct.
Okay. So how many, let's say you started 2019. Yes, I know that there's a little COVID factor somewhere in the middle of this whole thing, but how many applications or how many individual products did you figure you started with?
Okay. Obviously we had our point of sale. We had an online ordering platform. We had a separate app. We had a separate third-party integrator. We had a system that would create, like, I could pull data in from franchise partners to look at
Right.
their sales, not just their sales, but like their spend as well, their P&Ls. I had a separate system for training. I had a separate system that would teach or that would spit out what sort of royalties we should get. I had a separate system to keep documents, a separate system to keep contracts, a separate system, like insanity. And
Right.
yeah, I mean, that was part of it, was like, well, where is this thing? Is it in Google Drive? Is it in like the cloud, whatever it's called,
Right.
Dropbox? Is it in? And so we really were like, okay, what can we do to consolidate? What can we do to scale back? And so, like I said, we had this 2023 no new systems mantra. And then my husband broke it, for one thing. And he made this pitch to us and we all allowed it, only because it was tech related to the customer, the guest experience. And so, reviews can make or break a restaurant.
Wait, hang on. I got to make sure I understand what exactly it is he broke. In other words, he broke your rule of no new system.
Typical visionary.
But in breaking the rule, that adds the question of, so did you basically keep everything that you already had and you haven't broken that rule, or you broke the rule for the one thing and then have you started replacing and consolidating the others? Because I don't know how, I lost count, by the way. I only have so many toes and feet here, that I can count. Exactly. So I lost count on how many systems you were talking about. And that was even before we even would talk about accounting systems or payroll and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What was the story here? So he broke the rule. He brought something in because you needed something for customer engagement.
Well, really what we did first was we consolidated systems. So we looked at what we had, what we actually needed, and then we moved over just from a document and a communication perspective. We moved over to Microsoft Teams. So we got rid of 4 or 5 different things that we were doing.
Right.
And then from a accounting, payroll, inventory, everything operation, we consolidated into, I don't know if we're allowed to say things like Restaurant 365. That's what we use.
Sure.
And then the other big piece was, our third party stuff. So we took on a loyalty provider where we integrated everything from the third parties, online ordering, web ordering, and one other thing. So we brought all of that under one system.
Right.
So consolidated down. And then we just enjoyed life for a little while. And then my husband was like, I want to bring this new thing in. And so he pitched it.
But you kept the POS consistent throughout.
We did. We used Toast. One thing that we did during that consolidation time was invested in having someone come in and help us revamp our menu. So menu management. We totally overhauled our menus and rolled them out
Right.
that it was consistent. Before it was
So it's sort of cleaning, yeah. So cleaning that up.
cleaning. Yep.
And so what you did, and we're going to take a break in a second because I know you're just dying to get to how your husband broke the system, which we will do. But basically, what I got from this is you put them in the buckets. So you put all your back office systems into a bucket, which was your accounting and your inventory and your ordering and production, got that. You took all your office systems and used an industry standard office piece to get all of, the email and the file structures and stuff in place. You kept your POS in there, and that will bring us up to the break and then talking about how your husband broke the system in bringing something new in that fit it. Oh, and I'm sorry. And you consolidated you consolidated a number of different pieces for your ordering processes and pieces like that. So if we got that right, let's just take a break for a moment. And I'm with Lauren Coulter of Biscuit Belly, who is the chief biscuit eater and integration, because her husband's doing the innovation, it sounds like. So she's the integration of everything that he's breaking, which we're going to learn about in a minute. So let's just take a quick break.
With the rapid expansion of technology in the food and beverage industries, finding the right supplier can become overwhelming and complicated. To simplify this process, the IFBTA created Exchange. Exchange is a powerful search tool where users can easily narrow down their technology search and refine results by application type, geography served, department, and more. Browse resources and learn more about the industry's technology suppliers at exchange.ifbta.org. Now, back to the show.
So welcome back. And I'm having a conversation today, a TechBytes conversation with Lauren Coulter, the chief biscuit eater and integration and quiet integrate. She's the real innovator here. And we've learned a lot about her in the first half, about how she stole the recipes and did all the other things that were there. Not really. But we're about to learn how her husband broke the system after the 2023 rule that we were not going to make changes. Okay. And she's running the ops, and I think he's driving her crazy. So where are you at with this? What happened then?
Well, he came to us and said, I've heard of this system. And like every restaurant person, we wanted more good reviews put out there. Who puts reviews out there? Only people that are mad. And so, we could do the thing where we're asking people, or we could do the QR code. You can do all these things. But ultimately, we didn't have a good way to truly drive people to leave good reviews. So we learned about this system called Ovation, and it speaks this age, and it really speaks to our demographic. It asks you, how was your experience on a scale of emojis? So it's a mad, angry emoji up to a heart eyes emoji. And so those kind of represent for us 1 to 5. If you leave a smiley face or a heart eyes emoji, it says, great, will you leave us a review out on these public sites? Boom, boom, boom. And then it says, oh, you didn't have the best experience. How can we fix it? What happened? Sometimes people are leaving that information while their booty is still in the seat. So our operator can walk up and be like, hey, I'm so sorry. We can resolve it. A lot of times people just want to be heard, right? So this gives them an opportunity to be heard without taking to the socials or other review sites.
So you're getting instant feedback, which of course, everybody has always said for all time that the worst thing is a customer that walks out the door, just tells all their friends and doesn't tell you. Well, today they can tell you in real time, but the trick there is being able to capture the information in real time and then being able to use it and take action in real time, which you're doing, which you're doing as well. But, the thought comes to mind that a lot of what you're doing is also about your culture and personality in the business.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you do when you start going multi-state, you have franchisees, and you're using technology. Where are you learning? It's great if you're in the restaurant or if it's in one of the original ones and they know how to react and how it all got started and they get to see Lauren coming out there and having the conversation with them. But, how could you use technology and use the things that you're using better to ensure you keep that culture as you grow and ensure that your franchisees and other units are operating the same way you would?
Well, actually, that's where Ovation, that is actually the piece that my husband sold me on, because I'm like, look, my friends go in our restaurants around here. They text me if they have a bad experience. The teams here know. And so what I love about that system is it gives me that info even though I'm not there. And so we can, I mean, it actually drives me insane that my husband is the receiver, but he is so in the weeds on reviews. And when you see consistent things, it helps inform how you should train. It helps tell you, okay, what is the root cause? Was the same person, the same team member at the register during these time periods? Maybe it's a them issue. Maybe it's a training issue. For me, sometimes it's like, oh, a guy, one of the owners, like, spoke to me rudely. And then I hear that multiple times. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? What's the root cause here? And so I will say that system has helped us understand and take actionable, like, this gives me data to then say what needs to improve. So that's the way that we learned as a brand. Our gravy is not consistent. We have this beautiful recipe, but it ain't consistent. Some people are using this type of pepper and some people. So it just helps us drill down, and it identifies the areas of training and the areas of focus that we'll have.
So, I do note, all kidding aside, that you are using the word, chief integrator and integration in your name, but if you have different systems giving you things, even in the example you just used about the gravy, right? Is there a direct correlation between that comment and something you can use perhaps in your back office system to look at what was the recipe, or are they using the right portion sizes? I mean, how do you get those insights how do you clone yourself? I mean, to know those insights and train people, because you used the word training in there, to make that correlation between that review and perhaps maybe somebody's not following the recipe on the gravy.
Oh, I mean, we do that all the time. And it's wild how much we will see consistent feedback about X. But an example of this is silly, but the to-go ramekins, for lack of a better word, squat cups that we use. Some people were saying, hey, I'm getting gypped on my grits. And we're like, what the heck is wrong with you people? Like, grits cost 8 cents. Just top it off. Like, what's the issue here? Well, and it turned out that some people had bought an 8-ounce cup, and all of our processes are around 4 ounces of grits or 4 ounces of potatoes. So, like, that is actually actionable if we get that feedback. Now, it's always a challenge. Like, we're never going to be able to be hip to hip, butt to butt at every store, but we are able in real time to ask the question. And the most important thing, okay, it sounds so novice, but I never knew that this existed until a few years ago, is just the taste and temp. So the process of everyone clearing out the kitchen and that operator or that GM tasting every single thing on the line. So does the gravy taste funny? Why does it taste funny? Okay, who made the gravy yesterday? Like, what is the root cause of these things? So ultimately, whenever we see these things, we can go back and say, who did the taste and temp? Do you actually know what the gravy's supposed to taste like? So, I mean, I think it helps us in that regard. We don't currently get the inventory, or we can see what they've purchased. We don't get that data infused into any of our systems yet. So into our Restaurant 365. I know they have a franchising model. 8 of our stores are ours.
Are you headed that way? I mean, are you headed for, or do you embrace those kinds of technologies? And then, of course, as I'm listening to what you're saying, I'm sitting thinking about solutions that are out there, but I'm not so sure how you're going to feel about them, right? So, for instance, if you're using the cameras that you have to watch customer service in the back, you can see whether the people are doing the recipes or following it, or whether they're, moving things around. But you'd have to have the AI vision to be able to look at that. And is that something you think that as it becomes easily accessible, cheap, and usable, you would do? Or do you feel that you're just going to end up, it's just going to take away from how you want to do business?
That's a good question. I mean, I remember hearing about how Crumble Cookie has their like iPads on each side so they can see it.
And the pizza guys are doing it too, right in your own town. They can see how many pepperonis go on the pizza and are they placed properly.
Wow. I will tell you, I am less concerned about the building of the biscuit as I am the actual creation of the biscuit. I mean, it's in our name. We put so much focus on it. I wouldn't mind having some sort of oversight into that. Now, the good thing is the tech that we have, it tells us pretty quick. I mean, these people take pictures, like we can see it. And the moment that is the best thing is we know we can tie that biscuit to who did it and really quickly intervene. But we're a little too late, right? Like if we could see them rolling out teeny,
Right.
teeny flat biscuits, yeah, maybe we could be like, hey, that needs to be a little thicker. Having said that, I don't want my husband to have any more like ability to get in the weeds. I want somebody else to do it, not him, because he will be like,
Yeah, but a lot of people think somebody else is going to be, some sort of machine learning that's in there. Now, of course, somebody has to teach it.
yeah.
And so, I can hear the nuances that you're talking about and think about how would you apply those? How would you teach them? Let me just do a different subject that we were talking about at the table conference.
Yeah.
Without getting into, specific vendors and things like that. But, a lot of your reputation and a lot of your sales are starting to head towards online ordering and delivery or pickup. And do you see that as a big extension of your business going forward? And where do you see how technology is going to fit in that?
I mean, I don't think it's going away. And for me, for our business, it makes me sad because so much of what the experience is, we're not a pizza chain. This is not intended to be sent to sit in a car for 20 minutes and then delivered and you open a box. It's just different. We want this Instagrammable, beautiful, tasty experience. And so it hurts my heart, truly. But it is what it is. It's not going to go away. It's still a tribute. I mean, 30-ish% of our sales come from takeout. So
Do you think you'll ever go to vending?
vending,
Well, you got cupcakes. You got the cupcake machines out there. I mean, I know you're going to tell me a biscuit is not a cupcake, right? I get that. Okay, I'm sure that there are the nuances to the holding and, and the nuances to, how the dough goes. I get that. But at some point, they're going to figure that out,
yeah,
and you can go to the grocery store and get horrible frozen biscuits that you can put in the microwave. Got that. Okay. But do you think that you'll go to things like vending, or maybe you'll end up in the convenience stores like where you started seeing it when you were in Atlanta?
that would be wild. I mean, that would be incredible. But I think we're so at this juncture so hyper focused on experience and just quality. It would be hard for me to see us going down that path right now.
Do you think you'll end up with a robotic biscuit maker?
I'm not opposed, not a robotic biscuit maker, but something to help the consistency piece. I mean, we've created like steel rectangle things. We've done all sorts of things, and ultimately, it comes down to the person for us. I do think we could improve on things like proofing our dough and holding our dough. I mean, my husband, they are doing innovation constantly to see, okay, if we hold this overnight, is it still good? Like even just being able to make some at the end of the day would be a huge help right now.
And a lot of the cooking equipment is connected now, as we talked about at the conference, but also the technology of food itself, that they're finding different ways of making food, serving it, the sous vide cooking, and even dim sum, is coming out of, vending machines there. And, so there's probably going to be some changes in your business that we don't see today.
Yeah.
But keeping Lauren in the business and the culture there of how you deal with the customers, is certainly going to be, part of the challenge.
Yeah, I think the place we see this a lot is we get hit up by people that do kiosk ordering, and I see it. I use it in airports. I mean, I do it, but it's just not the vibe we want to give off. It's not the thing that we want to be known for. I do it all the time at a McDonald's, but I'm not, you expect a different.
And what is the challenge there in the vibe?
Just,
Can't we put your face on there, and can't you talk to them while they're ordering?
I could, but I could be like, oh no, you should get that instead or whatever. But
That'd be
I
pretty
don't
funny.
know. I think it would be really a challenge. And maybe certain urban areas where, it's quick, there's not as many options, but our guests, they do have questions. I love having a person who knows the menu talking to them. Like, that's just special to
You
me.
don't think we can have virtual Lauren and AI? We're keeping your husband out of this, of
That would
course.
be
He doesn't get to go virtual, but you
that
don't
would be
think we're going to come up with a bot of you
tell my father.
that you can answer their question? Hey, look, I heard that Shaq is going into Big Chicken on their kiosks, and you've got Bojangles has, I forget what her name is, but we had her on here that would take your drive-through order, and she'll talk to you, and she'll respond, and
I mean, but what experience do you expect? I think that's the difference. If that's the experience that you're coming to expect, then sure. But I think for Biscuit Belly, that's people are spending $14-15 on a very high quality product. And I like to think we are giving them a better experience. That's just me.
well, the trick is going to be so with 30% probably in growing in the off-premise side, that's going to be a trick. Catering is always a trick.
Yeah.
New points of distribution. So I'm sure at some point you're going to figure that out. So, we've covered an awful lot of subjects. I'm curious though, you mentioned that your husband broke the rule here, but is there some technology, and boy, I mean, this is going to be like the open season here. You're going to get all these phone calls after this, but is there something that you either are looking forward, you would like to put in your company in the next couple of years, or something you wish you could put in that you see other industries doing, or something that, you just see at home that you think you should be doing?
One of the things I've challenged our team on is we get all this guest feedback, but I also kind of want to know about team feedback, team member feedback. And I know that there's a million ways that you can do this, and you can have them, say I'm at a 5 today or a 2 today, but I would love to have that kind of culture day-to-day piece as apparent as the guest day-to-day piece. So yeah, I'll probably get hit up by people, but
You probably will, because that does exist, of course. But I'm just sort of thinking about what you just said, and that's why it's always great to have a conversation with somebody. I don't know that this is practical and it's possible to do, but you're using certain methods to get your customers to respond and to give you feedback.
mm-hmm.
I wonder if you could take the same exact tool, and figure out how you get your employees to do it as part of their checkout,
Yeah.
because it sounds like you're very used to how you're getting those reporting and the analytics that come with it and the insights. Why would those insights be any different for an employee, different issues
Yeah.
than they would be? So maybe there's something to be had here to say, why don't we just try it the opposite way?
100%.
Hey, by the way, it's not new. As I start to think about it,
Yeah.
isn't that what Uber and those guys are doing? They're rating their customers, right? So they're, the customers rating them. They rate the customers. So I'm sure that maybe there's a new business model in here for your provider too, to work with you on doing the opposite side, which is employee sentiment. So
Yes. Yeah, actually we asked them, and I believe they said they are working on it. Of course, it's on their roadmap, so God knows when, it'll actually be implemented, but
I might go a lot quicker after this.
yeah, maybe.
We'll have to see. But okay, so that's really a big one, to be employee focused, and of course partner focused for your franchisees. Is there any personal technology that you use that you would just really love to see in the in the environment? You think it would be like a cool thing to do?
Oh, I actually, to growing up, I always feel like I wanted to have the newest technology and the latest and greatest thing, and I feel like now I don't. I kind of resist it a little bit. I want technology to let me eat all the biscuits and make me skinny. Like that's
All right.
what
Hey,
I want.
we get that, and you are the chief integrator, so you got to figure out how it all works, whether you're integrating the flour and the water and everything else, or the butter on the biscuit, and whether you're integrating your husband into the whole thing or not. So,
Yes.
well, listen, it's been great having another conversation with you. I'm going to look forward to us getting together again, and we can include the other half as well in that one. Although that might take this conversation in a direction we don't need, so
All
we'll just
over
figure
the
that one out,
place.
right?
Yes. I mean, if you ask him what ideas he has, he'll be like, "Oh, yeah."
Well, we'll see what feedback he gives when this gets posted. But listen, we have Lauren Coulter, who is the chief biscuit eater and integrator / innovator, but we can't give her that title officially. But we quite see how she's looking at innovation as well. And from Biscuit Belly, and it was so great to meet you in person. It's great to have you on TechBytes.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This podcast is brought to you by the International Food and Beverage Technology Association. The IFBTA is the industry's voice of food service, hospitality, and retail technology, providing thought leadership as your single, impartial, and go-to resource. The IFBTA offers in-person and online communities to connect with your peers, the exchange, an all-encompassing global technology resource, and an industry-wide professional education and certification program. The bottom line is the IFBTA is your place to gather, learn, and share in conversations like the one we're having today. Thank you for joining us on this episode of TechBytes, powered by the IFBTA. I'm Rob Grimes, your host, and I look forward to taking our next bite of technology together.